sports fan. And now, here is Alex C.
Hey, how you doing? It is Alex C. It is time for the Yay or Nay Show, a sports show for sports fans by a sports fan. All right. Got a lot of yay or nay questions that have come back. By the way, got a lot of brand new yay or nay questions up on the Twitter page. Again, the address to the Twitter page, and you can see it scrolling on the screen if you are watching us on the big video cast. But the address to the Twitter page is, again, Yay or Nay Podcast. Here are some of the answers to some of the questions that have come back. Number one, should the NFL impose restrictions on unvaccinated players? We have had this conversation for the past couple of days in three different parts, might I add. We're not going to get back into that conversation today. However, we are going to go over the poll results in regards to this question. So again, the question, should the NFL impose restrictions on unvaccinated players? This one amazingly came back a 50-50 split right down the middle in regards to whether you should or should not impose restrictions on unvaccinated players. I have to admit I'm a little surprised on that. But then again, kind of goes with the country. If you're talking about politics, again, I'm not looking to be political, but if you're talking about political topics, we do seem to be split down the middle in America. So maybe that shouldn't be such a surprise to me after all. Okay, the next question that came back, is Ryan Fitzpatrick a franchise quarterback? This one came back 63 to 37% nay. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a franchise quarterback. And again, it goes back to the question that I was asking about the Washington football team. Why do you have Ryan Fitzpatrick as your starting quarterback when, amazingly enough, there were plenty of other quarterbacks you could have went after? There really were. Maybe you would have had to make some trades, give away some picks, or whatever the case may be. But there were quite a few quarterbacks you could have went after, and you would have got a lot better quality quarterback had you actually done the work. I think the Washington football team was just lazy. It is going to hurt them in their quest to win the division this year. All right, now, here's another one. This one's kind of an age-old question. It's not like you haven't been asked this question before, but it's one of those questions that I had to ask because a lot of talk now coming up in regards to Mac Jones playing for the New England Patriots. He is Tom Brady-esque, or Tom Brady number 2, if you will, now playing in the system that Tom Brady was so successful with Bill Belichick, and Tom Brady is a system quarterback. So you have to wonder, because again, keep in mind, I said, not necessarily anybody else, but I said, look, here's the thing. Tampa Bay, there's an asterisk next to the Super Bowl title that they won last year. Reason being, again, I told you, no fans in the stands, and that just creates a lot of different available variables. And keep in mind, this is the number one kicker, because I won't go deep into this part. I'll just say there is a rhyme and a reason why last year was the largest percentage of away team victories. Put that with no fans in the stands, folks, and that tells you that everybody was not playing to their best. And you had a lot of players that opted out. A lot of the best players were not, in fact, playing in the league last year. They opted out because of COVID. And then, of course, COVID itself knocked some players out for weeks at a time. So last year's Super Bowl title has an asterisk next to it. And here is the question. In New England, and then I put Bill make Tom Brady, or did Tom Brady make Bill? This one came back 63% to 37%. Tom Brady made Bill. Now, the reason why I went back and alluded to the fact that there's an asterisk next to the victory for Tampa Bay in regards to last year's Super Bowl is because this is going to be the year where you find out who is who. First of all, Belichick didn't have a good starting quarterback last year. COVID, again, affected New England, affected their quarterback. So he didn't have his quarterback last year. This year, really, even though I'm saying this year we're going to find out who's made of what, he still doesn't quite have his quarterback. Reason being, again, this is a rookie. He's playing his first season as a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's playing right out of the gates as a pure rookie. No 1 year on the sideline with a clipboard, learning, watching, seeing NFL speed up front and personal. Instead, he's going to have to play it, and that's a much difficult role for a NFL quarterback to be in. So, with that being said, at the end of the day, maybe next year we'll find out even a little bit more in regards to Belichick. But if New England at least makes it to the playoffs this year, if they at least make it to the playoffs this year, then that goes a long way in regards to letting you know what Bill Belichick in fact is. And if Tom Brady crashes and burns this year, when you have full crowds, true home field advantage, players playing 100% to their full intensity because they have fans in the stands. And if Tom Brady fails, that's going to tell you a lot about Tom Brady. Last season, again, no. Last season, there's an asterisk next to that Super Bowl victory. This year tells you who Tom Brady is, and next year tells you who Bill Belichick is. Because remember, the big knock on Belichick was prior to Tom Brady, he didn't have a winning percentage in regards to being a coach in the NFL. So again, 63-37% say Tom Brady made Bill. I say time will tell. Season's coming. It's going to be fun to watch. The next question, is sports too political? Again, I alluded to it earlier when we were talking about COVID, when we were talking about players and vaccinated and unvaccinated players and the NFL and the restrictions. And we talked to it about, 3 different times on previous podcasts. And then, of course, again, a few minutes ago, we brought it up again because of the earlier poll question. So again, the question is sports too political? Surprise, surprise. I use the word political and I get a typical answer. 50-50 split down the middle, just like America when it comes to politics. I can't say that enough because it just seems more and more true. Even when I, with my small show, do simple polls and it has anything to do with a semi-political type of a question, next thing you know, it's a 50-50 split right down the middle. All right, NFC North today. Let's start with the Chicago Bulls. Bears. I don't know where I got Bulls from. I was thinking basketball for a moment there. All right, Chicago Bears. Here we go. Week 1, they're going to be going against the LA Rams. I am going to give that victory to the Rams. And then you've got week number 2. They're going to go against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'll give them the victory over the Bengals. Although it's going to be a battle of quarterbacks, I do give a slight advantage to Cincinnati and to their quarterback over Justin Fields. I'm sorry, Justin Fields not playing yet. See, I get confused today. Today's one of those days. But, the Red Bomber, I'm going to give Cincinnati the slight edge in regards to quarterbacks. However, experience will be the only thing that saves Chicago in that game. So they're going to beat Cincinnati. All right, Cleveland Browns. That is an obvious given loss. Then you go into week 4. They're going to go against the Detroit Lions. I'll give them the victory. I am not sold on Jared Goff and the Lions. I think the Lions are who the Lions are. Nothing has changed. Making a quarterback switch is not going to be the answer for the Detroit Lions. The Vegas Raiders. I am going to slightly give Chicago a victory, which means they're off to a good start so far in week 5 of the season, if this in fact holds out. So I'm going to give them a victory over the Las Vegas Raiders. But then they've got the Green Bay Packers. That is going to be a loss. Now you're moving on to Tampa Bay. We're going to go ahead. I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a well-fought game, but I am going to give the advantage to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. 49ers, that's going to be a blowout game. There's no way in the world Andy Dalton's going to have any answer for the 49ers and that vaulted defense. And then you've got Pittsburgh the following week. That is going to be a loss. Whether it's Andy Dalton or Justin Fields at this point, and by this time in the season, it very well, in fact, could be Justin Fields. But it doesn't matter which one it is. By this time in the season, we're going to know who the Bears are. The Bears are going to be bad. Offensive line, first and foremost. And that defense, again, is a deteriorating defense, irregardless of what the national guys want you to believe. That is a deteriorating defense, obviously. We've seen it over the past couple of years. Pittsburgh is going to get the win in that particular game. Week 10, good luck for them. Or I should say good news for them. They're not going to lose because they don't have a game. Week 11, however, they do have a game, and they do have another loss coming. It's against the Baltimore Ravens. Detroit Lions, this one will be a more physical and a more difficult game for Chicago to win. I actually think, in all honesty, they're going to split with the Lions. I am going to give the Lions the victory the second time around. Cardinals, another hard-fought game. It's going to be a really hard-fought game. I have to give a slight advantage to the Cardinals in regards to this game. Unfortunately, they get to play Green Bay twice, which means they get to lose to Green Bay twice. Moving on to Minnesota, another loss that the Bears are going to take. Seattle, that is an absolute massacre that they are going to get against Seattle. The Giants, I believe that's going to be tight. It's going to be close. A field goal might be the difference maker in regards to this particular game. However, I'm going to give the slight advantage to the New York Football Giants. And then, unfortunately, they get to play Minnesota one more time. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we have a 3-14 finish for the Chicago Bears. Congratulations, Chicago. All right, moving on to Detroit. Well, like I said, I get it. Matthew Stafford gone. Jared Goff in. I don't think they did anything but swap the exact same quarterback, different name on the jersey. So, with that being said, week 1, San Francisco 49ers, Detroit is going to start off 0-1. Guess what? I got bad news. They get to play Green Bay in week number 2. Guess what that means? It's going to be a second loss in a row. And by this time, believe me, people will be bad-mouthing Jared Goff, even though it's not his fault that Detroit's losing. Mark my words, that's going to happen, everybody. Write it down if you want to, because I guarantee they're going to be bad-mouthing him and blaming him when it's not his fault. Week 3, here's the bad news. They get to play Baltimore. Guess what that is? Another loss. All right, but then you got Chicago. I said this was going to be a split series. However, I gave Chicago the victory in game number 1. I want to stay consistent. Then they go against Minnesota. That is going to be an immediate loss against Minnesota. Way too powerful, way too fast. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. I am going to give the advantage in this instance to Detroit. I think they're going to beat Cincinnati in week number 6. So it's going to take them 6 weeks in the season to get their very first victory. Not really good news. And not much better news coming when you move on to week 7 and you have the LA Rams coming. And guess what? You're going to lose to the LA Rams. Philadelphia Eagles, it'll be a hard-fought game. I am not sold on Philadelphia. I think they're going to be bad. This is going to be 2 bad teams going against each other. I'm not a believer in Jalen Hurts, by the way. I get it. He's flashy. He's exciting. But the thing is that I'll give the advantage quarterback-wise to Jared Goff. This could be victory number 2 for Detroit. Then in week 9, good news for them. They're not going to take a loss because it's a bye. However, the bad news for them is they get Pittsburgh, and then immediately after they get Cleveland. So you know what they get? 2 more losses in a row. Then they get Chicago. I said this was going to be a split, and Chicago is going to basically, again, split the series with them. Moving on to 13, you got Minnesota. Minnesota, there's going to be no split there. They're going to blow Detroit's minds. That's going to be bad news for them. Broncos, a victory for the Broncos in regards to week number 14. Cardinals, this is going to be another good game. However, Goff knows the Cardinals. I'll give him an advantage there. But I'm not in love with who he has personnel-wise. I'm not in love with who he has coaching-wise. I'm going to give the slight advantage to the Cardinals, so another loss for Detroit there. The Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people trying to talk up Atlanta. Again, I'm not impressed with Atlanta. That's just me. But they're definitely better than Detroit. So I'm going to go ahead and give Atlanta the victory. Seattle, are we really even having that conversation? That's not even one that we should be having. Seattle's going to beat Detroit. Green Bay is going to beat Detroit. So let's see what we got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, we've got another 3-14 ball club with the Detroit Lions. Wow. This, NFC North not looking real strong. All right, Green Bay, the one source of basically good news, I guess, for the NFC North, if you want to say that. They get the New Orleans Saints in week number 1. That's going to be a win. They get Detroit. Well, we know that's going to be a win. They get San Francisco. That's going to be the first loss of the season for Green Bay right there. Pittsburgh Steelers, it's going to be tough. It's going to be good. I got to give the slight advantage to Green Bay over Pittsburgh. Then moving on to Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, I'm going to give the advantage to Aaron Rodgers. Chicago, absolutely, they're going to demolish them. Washington, I believe, is going to keep Green Bay in check. I think that's going to be loss number 2. Arizona Cardinals, I think they're going to beat Arizona. That's really not a question. They are, however, in week number 9, going to take a loss to Kansas City, and then they're going to move on to Seattle. I don't believe they have what it takes to beat Seattle. and then they're going to take on Minnesota. A good game, a well-fought game. I'm going to give them the advantage. They're going to win the game against Minnesota. I do not believe, however, they have what it takes to beat the Rams, so they're going to take an L there. The very next game they play is 2 weeks later against guess who? Chicago Bears. That is going to be a victory. Then they're going to go up against Baltimore. I'm going to take that game and say that Baltimore is going to beat Green Bay. Cleveland, great game, great matchup, but that defense, that offense, Green Bay is a good team, but they're not a great team. In other words, they're a B team until they play, or I should say, let me put it to you this way. They're an A team until they play an A team, then they're a B team, which means they're going to lose to Cleveland. So that'll be 2 in a row, Baltimore and Cleveland. Minnesota, this one could be a split. I gave them the victory over Minnesota in the first one. I'm going to give them a loss in the second one. And then you've got Detroit. They're going to beat them. So what do we got for Green Bay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 9 and 7 for Green Bay. That's what I have, Matt. 9 and 7. Now, moving on to the final team in the division, the Minnesota Vikings. Week number 1, they got Cincinnati. We'll go ahead and give them the W over Burrow and the boys. And then they've got the Cardinals. I think that's going to be a well-fought game. I'm going to give the advantage to Minnesota. They're going to win in week number 2. However, week number 3, they get Seattle. That's going to be loss number 1. Week number 4, they get the Cleveland Browns. That is going to be loss number 2. Remember, Cleveland's going to be much improved from previous years. They're going to get a victory over Detroit. I'm not sold on everybody in Carolina. I'm going to give Minnesota a slight edge in regards to this game in week 6, but they will get past Carolina. Week 7, they play nobody. Week 8, they still play nobody. They're called the Dallas Cowboys. But with that being said, it's going to be a hard-fought game. It should be fun to watch. I like the quarterback matchup. I really do. I like this quarterback matchup. But I'm going to give the advantage full team-wise to Minnesota over Dallas. I think Minnesota is going to slightly edge Dallas in regards to this game. However, they're going to go against Baltimore. They're going to get smoked. They're going to go against the Chargers. And I believe the Chargers are good enough to beat Minnesota. So I'm going to give the Chargers the victory in week number 10. Green Bay. Again, I think there's going to be a split here. So I will give them the loss the first time they meet Green Bay. San Francisco, they're going to take a loss against the 49ers. They will beat Detroit in week 13. They will beat Pittsburgh in week 14. They will beat Chicago and probably Justin Fields in week 15. They, however, will not beat the Rams in week 16. And they will, again, beat Green Bay because I said they were going to get a split. So they'll beat Green Bay week 17. And then they will beat Chicago week 18. So what do you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what we have now is we have Minnesota coming in first place, winning the division at 10 and 7. Green Bay in second place at what do we got? 9. And, oh, wait, I'm wrong. My math is wrong. So let me check something real quickly. Hold on a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, okay. I had it wrong. All right, here we go. I made a mistake. I had to quickly make a correction. So what we have is Minnesota coming in first at 10 and 7. We got Green Bay coming in second at 9 and 8. And then tied for third and fourth, if you will, Chicago and Detroit both coming in at 3 and 14. Tonight, the big game, Patriots against the Cowboys. Look, I said this game should be postponed. COVID reasons. We had this discussion in a previous podcast. Again, it's unfair to have to play a game when you've got players that are out due to COVID, especially when they're as important as Zach Martin is. But here's the deal. They're going to play. The game's going to happen. Even if, and here's the kicker, even if Dallas was 100% fully healthy, I do not believe they have what it takes to beat Tampa Bay. Now, not because Tampa Bay is a great team. These national guys are out of their flipping mind. Believe me, I get it. After this game, Friday morning, these guys are going to be yupping it up, talking about Tampa Bay, how they're the greatest thing, and everybody's just playing for second place. I get it. But again, it's okay. I'll be the one laughing at the end of the season when they figure out how wrong they were about Tampa Bay. But this is a game that most teams are going to win. Dallas is not going to be that good of a team, folks. They're just not. They're overhyped as always. It's like the networks and the Shield NFL itself tells all the commentators to say how great they are and how they're going to win the division, like they say every year. They've been wrong for the last 25 years, and yet they still keep spewing out the same garbage again, because somebody's got to be making these guys say this garbage that everybody knows isn't true, or at least you would think they know enough about football to know that it's not true. But the bottom line is Dallas will get blown out because Dallas isn't that good. They're going to lose to Tampa Bay. You want a sure bet in Vegas? Bet on Tampa Bay to beat Dallas tonight. You guys have a great day. Tomorrow, we did the NFC North today, which means tomorrow we will do the NFC South. You guys have a great day, and we will talk tomorrow.